afternoon, everybody. My name is Manu Pusin, but you can just call me Yuki. So my team and I are going to present about the group assignment case study, which is Enron case, which has happened on 2001. And let me introduce you to my teammates. First of all, it's me, hi, and then Safa Mahmadi, and Wan Lu Jin, Winnie Lu, and Yap Hu Win, Yap Jun Kit, Shuji, and Yusuf Ahmed. These are my group mates that we have done on our project and finally on our presentation. So let's talk about the presentation itself, because my part is the introduction. So I'll be giving you the table of contents where as you can see, it's introduction to the case and how the background of this case actually worked, and the discussion on why this case should be studied, and implication on the individual, like who is affected by who, and of course steps to address integrity and corruption issues, and lessons learned from this case study so they won't be happening in the near future. And finally, closure and a thank you to the introduction. So for my introduction part, it's about Enron scandal 2001 case, right? This happens because it's one of the biggest financial scandals in history that is recorded, and it was an American company which was also successful from our background studies. Collapsed after investigation, found hidden debts and fake accounting practices. As MPU from this course has taught me that doing the illegal and monetary values are quite bad thing to do, and if people ended up doing it, it's really bad, and of course cost thousands of employees lose their job, in addition to investors who lost billions of dollars. So a lot of stuff going there, and they will explain in detail. My team will definitely explain what is happening in the detail, but as of now, as you can see, the corruption literally leads to a destruction to such successful company, and of course the downfall of other artisan, even their auditor. That is so bad. Highlights major weaknesses, corporate governance, and financial reporting. So this is the introduction, and yes, corruption can lead to this much of a downfall to such a successful company. Now I'll be passing my part to my other presenter. So yeah.
I'm Lujin, and I'll talk about the background of Enron scandal. So Enron used to be one of the most successful energy trading companies in the United States. It was founded in 1985 after the merger of Houston Natural Gas and North. However, in 2001, Enron became known for one of the largest corporate scandals in United States history. The company was involved in accounting fraud schemes that allowed it to hide billions of dollars in debt and steal deals from investors and the public. So some of the key figures involved, including Kenneth Lay, the chairman and CEO of Enron, Jeffrey Skilling, an energy consultant who introduced risky accounting practices through Enron Finance Corp, Andrew Festo, the chief financial officer, CFO, who created complex financial structures to hide losses, Sharon Watkins, the vice president of Enron and the whistleblower who warned about the fraud. Lastly, we have David Duncan, Enron's chief auditor from Arthur Andersen LLP, who played a key role in the company's auditing failure. Next, we look into the timeline of how the Enron scandal unfolded. So in the mid-1990s, Jeffrey Skilling and Andrew Festo, they started using a method called mark-to-market accounting, which let them manipulate Enron's financial statements, and this made the company look profitable even when it was actually losing money. By August 2001, Sharon Watkins, she sent an anonymous memo to Kenneth Lay, warning him that Enron could collapse because of its accounting problems. In October 2001, Enron reported a $680 million loss and admitted it had been overstating its earnings for years. Then in December 2001, Enron filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection. This became one of the largest corporate bankruptcies in the United States history. Finally, in early 2002, after investigations uncovered major fraud, Kenneth Lay, Jeffrey Skilling, and Andrew Festo were charged with financial fraud, conspiracy, and insider trading. So the Enron scandal became a major turning point that changed how corporations are audited and regulated.
Hi, my name is Winnie, and I will be continuing to talk about the background of Enron scandal, from the failure to uphold integrity. Enron's CEO Jeffrey Skilling and CFO Andrew Fastu used accounting loopholes and SPES to hide debt and inflate profits. The Enron's auditing firm, Arthur and Anderson, approved misleading financial reports and later destroyed all the documentations to hide evidence. So the consequences of their actions were Enron, one of the top energy companies in the US, collapsed. Their stock price were once at 90.75 USD. Then they dropped until USD 1 after the fraud was exposed. The scandal led to bankruptcy of both Enron and Alter Anderson. Thousands of employees lost their jobs and retirement savings. This caused a major loss of investors' confidence and raised global concerns about corporate ethics and transparency. Therefore, this actually led to the establishment of the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, stricter regulations to prevent similar scandals. We have done research through multiple platforms and materials. One of it would be the documentary Enron, The Smartest Guy in the Room. It offers an in-depth insight into the scandal. It revealed how great deception and unethical leadership created a culture that prioritized profits over ethics. Enron misled the public, investors, and employees, hiding financial instability through complex financial practices. Therefore, this business culture of ambition, desperation, and unchecked freedom created the perfect conditions for Enron's leaders to misuse power and deceive the public. Now, I'll pass it to the next presenter.
Hi, my name is Sophia Sal, and I'm going to be covering the discussion part of our presentation. Okay, so Enron's case really showed how powerful companies can fall apart when ethics are ignored. For example, the top executives, Kenny Lay, as Jeffrey Skilling and Andrew Forstow were involved in serious crimes, which included but not limited to accounting fraud, security fraud, and insider trading. And these broke the Security Exchange Act of 1934. Furthermore, Enron's auditor, David Duncan, destroyed key audit documents, which was an act of obstruction of justice under the Title 18 U.S. Code, section of 1519. Now, some of the consequences were very significant. The case left significant consequences. So, this includes Enron's bankruptcy, and furthermore, over 25,000 people lost their jobs as well as their savings, and the author Anderson, once a respected firm, collapsed completely. So this scandal was a shock to investors around the world, and later on led to the creation of the Sarbanes-Oxley Act of 2002. This meant this was meant, of course, to tighten corporate regulations and prevent similar accidents. So, some of our recommendations to hopefully address integrity and corruption issues uh, include to tackle companies. We believe that companies need to focus on strong ethics, training, and protect whistleblowers, and hopefully encourage transparency at every level. And of course, it's also the people's responsibility to make sure that the companies are being held accountable. So, lastly, the biggest lesson learned from Enron's case is that success is not built on dishonesty and it never lasts. So, yes, integrity and accountability are what organizations is what truly sustains organizations. All right, thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Yusuf, and I will be going through the implications of the Enron case and how it affected everyone from the employees to the executives, auditors, investors, and even the general public. So first of all, Enron was a energy company, and energy is a very labor-intensive industry. So they had a huge workforce. Now, unfortunately, when the collapse happened, 25,000 workers in Enron, they lost their job and their retirement savings immediately after the collapse. And many of them went into having a lot of financial hardships and emotional stress due to losing all their pensions entirely. And then we have the executives, who are actually the people behind this collapse and the fraud. So people like the CEO, the CFO, and other board members, they were all charged with fraud and conspiracy. Now, a lot of them faced imprisonment, fines, and they obviously had a very high damage to their reputations since they were the leading factor behind one of the biggest collapses in modern history. Now, Kenneth Lay, who was the CEO of the company, he actually died before being sentenced, while others still served their prison time. And thirdly, we have the auditors, which were Arthur Anderson. It was a accounting firm that was supposed to be a third party auditor to the Enron company, but instead of doing actual audits and releasing actual files, they ended up shredding key documents so they can help Enron get away with this fraud. So when the investigations figured that Arthur Anderson was actually guilty and they were charged with obstruction of justice, particularly their CEO, David Duncan. So the collapse of Arthur Anderson, just like Enron, it led to massive job losses and loss of credibility in the profession as a whole. So the entire industry of third party auditing, it was all hit. And then lastly, we have the investors and the public. So thousands of investors lost billions of dollars in investments. So they originally were fooled by Enron that they had great revenues and the company was doing so great. So they decided to invest. And when the collapse happened, they lost all their money. And then lastly, the public, their trust in the industry and financial markets, it was hit because of this huge collapse. So if a big company like Enron is lying to the people, who knows what other companies are also lying? And this is actually really bad for the economy because when people don't have enough trust in the financial markets, they stop investing, and that's bad for the economy as a whole. So as we can tell, this Enron is had huge implications, not just on the people in Enron, but it actually expanded to the auditing firm, to the investors, and to the general public. And it shows us why corporate finance is so important.
Now that we have discussed about the Enron scandal case, let's look at the key step that organization can take to address integrity and corruption issue. So firstly, strengthen the corporate governance. This means to ensure that there's an independent oversight from the board of directors and audit committees. There should be a clear separation of the CEO and the chairman role to avoid concentration of power. Most importantly, executives must be held accountable for their decision, where this is to prevent the kind of unchecked authority that we saw in the Enron's case, where leadership acted without transparency or control. Secondly, promote ethical leadership and culture. Companies should regularly conduct ethnic and compliance training for all employees so that integrity becomes a part of their daily operation. Leadership should be rewarded honesty and ethical behavior, not just in profits. Encourage open communication and ethical decision making to prevent employees from feeling pressured to engage in unethical practices. Thirdly, encourage whistleblower protection, where whistleblower protection plays a vital role in exposing wrongdoing, such as the Enron's case, where Sharon Watkins raised internal concern. So organization should provide a safe and confidential reporting system so employees can report unethical behavior without the fear of retaliation. Legal protection and recognition for ethical coverage are essential to ensure transparency and accountability. These steps help to build a transparent corporate environment that discourages corruption and promotes integrity at all levels.
So, the Enron scandal taught us some critical lessons about the importance of transparency and accountability in corporate governance. So Enron deception and hiding debts expose the dangers of inaccurate financial reporting and weak oversight. To prevent such failures, organizations must ensure accurate finance, show disclosure and independent audits, and consistent monitoring of ethical and compliance practices. Strong accountability measures such as the enforcement of the Sarbanes-Oxley Act are also essential to hold executive responsible and impose penalties for fraud or document destructions. Ultimately, the Enron case reminds us that transparency builds trust and accountability sustains it. Both are vitals for ethical and sustainable business conducts.
So, the Enron scandal served as a powerful, lasting lesson for the business world. It showed us that a lack of integrity and transparency and accountability can destroy even the most successful corporations. Ultimately, unethical leadership with governments created a culture where corruption thrived. So, how do we move forward? We must build strong governance structures and uphold ethical leadership from the top down. This means encouraging whistleblower protection, implementing robust ethic trainings, and fostering a culture where doing the right thing is non negotiable. In the end, the message is clear. Integrity is not just a value, it is the foundation of trust, credibility, and long term success in every single organization. Thank you for listening.